This is John Gruden with the Oakland Raiders. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, we just made a trade in the draft. We're going to make you a Raider. You fired up about that?
I'm fired up. Clemson. I like it.
Man, we got a great setup here. We've got a great group of guys coming in this rookie class, and we're on our way here. We just got so much confidence in you as a football player. I just want to let you know we made it. We traded up in the fifth round to get you. Congratulations.
I'm watching now. I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Renfrow, listen, I've been tracking you since before the national championship game a couple years ago when Alabama couldn't cover you. We've been tracking you really closely. We love watching the way you ran routes at the Senior Bowl. We love who you are as a person. We traded up to get you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. That really does mean a lot.
Seriously, here's the deal. We're drafting all these guys with high character that love ball, and you fit into that. Exactly. You fit so much the culture we're trying to develop. I just want you to come in and be you, all right?
I will. Yes, sir.
Yo, good morning, Raider Nation. Hopefully you guys got your Raider coffee cups. Just sipping on some coffee here. Want to chop it up, talk some Hunter Renfrow. So anybody in the chat, Jeff, appreciate you. NorCal Jesse, dude, what up, big dog? So one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is this Hunter Renfrow situation. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors of Hunter Renfrow being traded after the 2021 season, right? I've kind of thought about it in depth. I've tried to think about it from like multiple like sides of the coin, from maybe Hunter Renfrow's perspective as well as a coaching perspective. And it really made me think of an interview that Renfrow had done back in February of 2022. So I went back. I was able to find some sound bites I edited for you guys. We're going to go over. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Each of them are about a minute long. But most of us in Raider Nation, we know last year wasn't a good year for Hunter Renfrow and he was hurt. But most of us know that, he was an integral part to the Raiders. Third and Renfrow wasn't no joke. It took him like maybe about a year to really kind of come on the scene with the Raiders. But Hunter Renfrow was our go-to guy on third downs, and I feel like the previous coaching staff really, this coaching staff, the previous coaching staff really did some good things with Hunter Renfrow, adjusted their playbook and some different things like that. So, one of the things I want to talk about first is the fact that the previous regime had traded up to go get Hunter Renfrow in the 5th round. Okay. They were big on them. He was kind of a sleeper pick. And not just that, but there's a lot of I'm gonna pull up a screen here. I think a lot of us at Raider Nation have forgotten just how darn good the 2019 draft class was. I know I don't want to go over it too much right now because that's not the main point of this video. A lot of busts happen in the 1st and 2nd rounds. We did have 3 picks that year. But if you can get at least 2 to 3 starters or studs, that's a pretty good draft. So that 2019 draft, we got Josh Jacobs, Trayvon Mullen, he started a few games. You could go 50-50 on that maybe. Max Crosby also dealt with some injuries, but Max Crosby, super stud. Foster Moreau, you could say a rotational guy, a potential starter in the NFL, and then obviously Hunter Renfrow, who really came on the scene a year before last when we went to the playoffs. So, when I first look at it, I'm like, you know what, like, the value that the Raiders got Hunter Renfrow at in the 5th round, I think we got really good value for Hunter Renfrow. We didn't reach on him like this regime. I feel like we reached drafting a wide receiver in the 3rd round. I think the writing's on the wall if this regime is going to draft a wide receiver that high in the 3rd round. So there's multiple things that like I've thought about that I wanted to share with you guys, just my thoughts and try to look at it from all sides. So one of the things to understand before I share some of these other videos, we kind of go over it. Josh McDaniels got hired. Josh McDaniels got hired on in January 2022. Hunter Renfrow did a video, an interview about a month later. A lot of us probably remember it, but there's some key points there's about 2 or 3 key points I want to touch on. Okay. From that interview that I'm going to share with you guys. And then, the Raiders give Hunter Renfrow a contract extension June. So to keep things in the proper time perspective, we get a new coach in January, late January. Month later in February, Hunter Renfrow does an interview, drops some nuggets, I think, in this interview. And then in June, the Raiders give Hunter Renfrow a contract extension. Okay. So I think that's important to, keep all these like timelines in perspective, that coaching staff comes on, Hunter Renfrow does interview, and the coaching staff still gives Hunter Renfrow a contract extension. All right. So with that being said, let's get in the first video here. The first video, I'll drop it right here. It's about a minute long. Listen closely, and then we'll kind of talk about it and get your thoughts as well. Okay. Thank you.
I'd always dreamed of, getting drafted to a team and playing the NFL. So when Coach Gruden called me and Mike Mayock called me, I was very, very thankful and very excited. I talked to my agent a little bit about, if I'm not drafted and I'm a free agent, like, where are the places that I want to go? Where are the places that me and Camilla would feel good about, going and signing a free agent contract and hoping to make the team? And so I remember going through a list of, where I wanted to go. And then I made a list of like where do I not want to go? And I remember me and Camilla came to consensus that the Raiders were the number one team we did not want to go to. Yeah. Up until college, I thought Oakland was in like Florida. I had no idea where Oakland was. My geography is awful, and it's so far away from home. When I found out it was California, taxes, and I was like, I don't want to be there, and then go all the way across the country for my family. And then we're going to Vegas in a year, and that's Sin City, that's the Strip, that's craziness. Right. And so that's the number one place we did not want to go. But I couldn't be more thankful we ended up here, because there's so many good people. It's been an amazing opportunity. I've loved the Raider organization, and really the teammates I've played with has been special.
All right. So I don't want to say too much about this. As you can see, that last picture, the target on Derek Carr's, chest, and then it ended with the target being on, Hunter Renfrow's back. So I do think he's next on the chopping block. So, you could look at this several ways. He did say he loves the Raiders. That's like kind of the, he said he loves the Raiders. So I think a large part of that was certain things that was involved with Derek Carr. Now, even though I was ready to move on from Derek Carr carpooled with Hunter Renfrow. I think he helped mentor Hunter Renfrow. He probably helped, Hunter Renfrow want to, be part of the Raiders organization and part of this transition and, to rebuild the Raiders back to greatness when Gruden was here. And he was that year that, we went to the playoffs. Hunter Renfrow was, doing amazing. The downside to that is there could be something in him now that Derek Carr's gone that he may not want to be part of this organization. Like he said, like the number one team he did not want to be part of was the Raiders, and there's some more stuff, but I'll kind of just leave it at that there's potential that he may not want to be part of this organization, especially with a lot of the changes that have happened. Okay. I'm curious what you guys think on that. But I do think that's important to some degree to at least understand there was some hesitation for him to want to be part of the Raiders. So, where he stands now, it's really hard to say. Derek Carr's gone. Darren Waller's gone. So, I'm kind of 50-50 on when he said that the Raiders were the number one team he doesn't want to be go to. So, if he would have been a free agent. So, I guess when I look at it from all those angles, it's like, what? I'm not sure if this dude wants to be a Raider anymore, but I'm speculating, obviously. So that was kind of one of the things, I want to touch on. Let me pull up the next video here. And then this one is kind of about, whether a wide receiver should be more physical or more mental. So I'll pull this one up and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on this one. So listen up.
Yeah, I know my mindset's different. I know it's a little quirky, but it works for me. And what works for me may not work for you or someone else, but I'm very big on the mental side of things. I'm very big on, being mentally fresh, kind of outthinking people, outworking people mentally, and maybe sometimes I probably can do a better job physically and do a better job of getting my body right. But I don't ever want to sacrifice, going over the top in the summertime physically so that when you get here, in November, December, and the games are important, that you're mentally, exhausted. And so I think the mindset of things and the mentality of things is you have to have the talent, obviously. So I don't want to say mentally is more important than the physical, but you have to have that mental side. And that's what separates the people at our level. There's tons of talented people, but their mentality is just what gets them over the top. And that's what I try to emulate.
All right. So when this had came out back in February, there was something that was kind of a negative to me that I thought when I listened to it that I was like, wait, what'd he say? So when he's talking about like, working in the off season and stuff, and like he only, he doesn't want to like burn out, and he only wants to, maybe run 10 routes in the off season. There was also another interview that was different where he was asked about his off season. He's like, I just try to relax and chill or whatever. And I'll be honest. So that to me is kind of a red flag. Like if I was a coach for the Raiders, right, we put our coaching hat on, I would be like, if this guy's not willing to put in the work, I would have some questions about that. You know what I mean? And there's another kind of off-season soundbite here that I'll play here in a minute that kind of also touches on that. If you look at the Patriots and who the like slot receivers they had, guys like Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, who's actually one of the Raiders coaches now. Danny Amendola is he's our special teams coach for kick return, punt return, and then he's a wide receivers assistant now. Okay. But as well as Wes Welker, all those guys that played for the Patriots, they got a lot bigger, faster, stronger as time went on for the Patriots. They weren't like, studs right away. It's possible Hunter Renfrow could change his mindset, but I do like the positive part about it is I like how he's like, like I'm going to mentally like kind of, outperform the guys I'm playing against, you know what I mean? Versus like being more physical. However, we seen him get hurt last year, and maybe if he had been in better shape, I mean, concussions, like it doesn't matter what shape you're in, they can happen. But, when I look at it from a standpoint of like, if he's more physically fit, maybe he'll be able to produce more or whatnot. Okay. But there's some other things involved with that as far as scheme fit that we'll get into here in a couple minutes. So, all right, let's play this other video, another minute long one. So stand by and then listen to this one.
It's a lot of preparation, obviously, and that's why you're laughing a little bit because, I'm so against all the footwork drills and like stuff that doesn't translate to the game. I'll go out there in the offseason and run routes 10 times in the offseason. That's good enough for me because I'm thinking about what I want to run. I'm thinking about how I want to set up the defender, and I want to stay fresh for the season. I don't want to go out in the summer and run millions of routes, and then when the season gets here, I'm so tired of running routes. I don't want to, I'm not creative anymore. I don't even want to think about football. I want to play my best ball at the end of the year and be fresh mentally, fresh physically, and be creative. For me, it's all about breaking tendencies for a DB. Like for me personally, I try to get into the mind of the DB, and I try to basically lie to the DB as a receiver. And so if I'm thinking as a DB, all right, if I'm running this route as Hunter, how am I going to set the DB up? And so if I'm guarding Darian, like if Darren ran this, when would I jump it? So it's all about breaking tendencies and habits and trying to get in the DB's mind and as a receiver, lie to him, I guess.
So again, he's like talking about only doing like 10 routes in the off season, not want to do much, just wanting to be mentally ready. I kind of like that to some degree because he's trying to like outthink, or like kind of trick the defensive back and stuff. But to another degree, is that enough for this new coaching staff? What he just said. If he's not going to put in the work, if he's not going to get bigger, faster, stronger, is that going to be enough for this new coaching staff? While at the same time keeping in mind that it was this coaching staff that had gave Hunter Renfrow the contract. Now, it's possible that this staff never saw this interview or heard the interview, However, the coaching staff got hired in January. This interview drops a month later, and then the Raiders had plenty of time in the offseason that I'm sure they probably heard something about this interview. And to me, if I was a coach, there would be some red flags in there. Like I would question if I should give this guy a contract. I'll be honest with you guys. And I'll be like, right off the bat, I love Hunter Renfrow. I think he should be a Raider. I really like this dude. He's been so darn productive for us guys. I think there's some red flags in here, but I also think that a lot of this falls on the coaching staff. From the play calling to not using Hunter Renfrow the right way. Obviously, Hunter Renfrow missed a lot of time last year. But if I had known about that, okay, and maybe Hunter Renfrow's like off season, like maybe not wanting to put in as much work as he should to be a true professional, especially for the contract we gave him, I would have never gave Hunter Renfrow the contract. As much as I love the guy and I think he's productive and stuff like that. So it's possible that this coaching staff had failed on their talent evaluation when they came into the situation, which is my main gripe with the new coaching staff and regime. That because they, signed Derek Carr, got rid of him, signed Darren Waller, got rid of him. And I believe Hunter Renfrow is next. And possibly even Josh Jacobs could be after that. I have a lot of questions on this coaching staff. But at the same time, I'm going to try to be fair. So you know, again, I like that he's like wanting to mentally outperform whoever he's playing against. But there's some red flags in here, like I said, that, I don't know if I would have gave him a contract because here's the thing. Even if I like him, dude, and I think he should be a Raider, if you're the coaching staff and it's not the right fit, why would you give that guy a contract if you already know that it's not going to fit and you have to get rid of him? Unless you gave him the contract knowing ahead of time your plan the entire time was to dump the player and move on from him to get something for him. So, everybody in the chat, appreciate you guys, man. You got NorCal Jesse up in here. Appreciate you. D Menace, what up? Raider Critique, dude. How you doing, brother? Shout out to you. Grimecast Media, Raider Dave. And I'll drop the link in the chat here in a minute if you guys want to join. You know what I mean? After I give a few more minutes here, kind of just telling my thoughts, because I am curious if Raider Critique or Raider Dave, you guys want to hop. I don't want to be long, but if you guys want to hop on here for a quick minute, you know what I mean? Appreciate that. We the people, shout out to you. And then Shima 86. So I'll drop the link in the chat right now, just in case you guys want to join. And then you guys can just stay backstage here, and I'll let you pipe in if you want to give a few minutes spiel. Again, I don't want to be long, but because I got some stuff I got to get done today. But I just wanted to come on here, drop this video real quick. So, all right. So we'll move on from that one, and let's get into the next one. All right. So this one's important, okay? Most of us know, okay? All right, if you're a Raider fan, right? Going in this next video, if you're a Raider fan, we already knew that Hunter Renfrow was kind of running routes his way versus the coach's way, going back to John Gruden, right? It like all of us, whether you heard this interview that he did back in February or whatever, or whether you go back in February or whatever, you could see that Hunter Renfrow had to do things a little bit differently, okay? Which can be good and bad. It's good if you have a coach that's willing to adjust your style, but if you have a coach like Coach McDaniels, where it's my way or the highway, again, I see some problems with them giving Hunter Renfrow the contract extension if they already knew about all this stuff ahead of time, or they didn't do their proper evaluation. So, all right, so listen to this video. This one's a minute long. This is Hunter Renfrow going to be talking about, running routes his way, essentially. So listen to this one.
We played in London my rookie year, the 5th game of the year. I had won the starting job, but I really wasn't playing well. I think I had like 6 or 7 targets. We were playing the Chicago Bears, 6 or 7 targets in like one catch. At Clemson, like if you threw to me, I wanted to catch the ball. I remember going back home that bye week thinking like, all right, this ain't working. I'm going to have to do it, my way. I know Coach Gruden wants me to run it like this. I know, they want me to run it like this, but, I'm going to be out of the league in about 5 games if I keep doing it like that. I'm terrible. And so I thought, let me just, I didn't want to look back and regret and say, oh, I was trying to please them so much and do it this certain way. And obviously, there were parameters and I didn't want to, go against what they're saying too much. But I remember going home that bye week and taking some time off and just thinking, I'm not going to regret this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it my way to an extent. Obviously, there's a coaching balance. I'm going to respect what they say. I'm going to do about how they say it, but I'm going to just put some tweaks here and there. That was kind of my moment where I kind of woke up and started playing some good football.
All right. So again, that was Hunter Renfrow talking about how he had to change up the routes and run routes his way. Okay. All of us Raider Nation knew this was happening like for years, right? And we were cool with it. And Coach Gruden was cool with it to some extent, as long as he was producing. New coaching staff gives Renfrow the contract, and now it could potentially be an issue. Like going back to the start of last year, like I had said, if this coaching staff, I called it clipping Hunter Renfrow's wings, but like I knew if they were not going to call plays that benefited Hunter Renfrow, that he was going to struggle, So again, this is goes back to the coaching. I have a lot of questions if the coaching staff made the right decision to even keep Hunter Renfrow. Let alone they drafted a wide receiver in the 3rd round. I mean, did they not know what they were getting in Hunter Renfrow? All of us in Raider Nation knew that Hunter Renfrow was essentially kind of changing up the plays or doing things a little differently than what the coaching staff wanted, but it was working. You know what I mean? This is why Hunter Renfrow said he's not the most physical guy or talented guy, but he outsmarts people with his jukes and stuff like that, the mental mindset of it. So when I look at from that standpoint, if you're a coach and you give that guy a contract extension, and then if they get rid of Hunter Renfrow after the June 1st, like, kind of deadline to see, what they can get for him or whatever, and they save a little bit money on the dead cap hit. Uh, I have a lot of questions about why this coaching staff would make this decision, or the coaching staff should change up some of their play calling and some of their my way or the highway to get the best out of their talent. And I don't see McDaniels coming from the Patriot system as a coach or a staff that's willing to adjust, enough to get the best out of Hunter Renfrow. So, if people are like, well, it's not a scheme fit anymore, or people will say, and I believe in this, if people will say no one's bigger than the Shield, well, that goes all directions, in my opinion, because I do agree, no one is bigger than the Shield. This coaching staff, meaning, Coach McClown and Dave Ziegler, they aren't bigger than the Shield either. And if they made a critical mistake where now we're going to eat a big cap hit because they signed Hunter Renfrow, well, shame on them, because they aren't bigger than the freaking Shield either, guys. This coaching staff ain't bigger than the Shield. Hell no. So if they made a bad decision by giving Hunter Renfrow the contract just so they can trade him, this is why I've said, like, you'll know them by their actions. We get rid of Hunter Renfrow, they made a bad decision by even giving this guy a contract to begin with. Okay. So, all right, let's get in this last video. This last one's going to talk about, scheme fit and coaching. So some good nuggets in this one. This one's like about half minute long. So listen up.
We start off 3-0, and then we lost the next 2 games, and then the Gruden thing happened. Rich Bisaccia came in, was the interim coach. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted to play so hard for him. We want everyone to be back next year. We want Rich to be back. We cared about our coaches. We cared about our teammates, because when a coaching change happens and a management change happens, a lot of these guys on 1-2 years deal, you don't know how the new coaches are going to like them. And so if I'm a slot receiver and they run 21 personnel a lot, it doesn't fit me. There's no place for you, or you fit a certain scheme or system.
Exactly.
So coaching definitely changes things.
All right, so this was one of the ones. Actually, this video and the last soundbite I showed you had some key, like tidbits that I had remembered when Hunter Renfrow had done this interview that I want to touch on. Okay, what he said right here, he's talking about 21 personnel, and he was talking about a scheme fit. Keeping in mind, this is about a month after Josh McDaniels was hired to the Raiders. Okay, so he had already known. He threw a little tidbit out there about 21 personnel maybe not fitting like who he is as a player. And like, if someone doesn't fit that scheme, then they might be gone. So then you get into, some of this, people already know, but then you get into like, okay, well, what's 21 personnel? Okay. Give me a second. I'll blow it up here for you guys. All right. If there are 2 running backs and 1 tight end, the grouping is referred to as 21 personnel. The number of wide receivers on the field is inferred based on the fact that 11 offensive players are allowed on the field, including 5 linemen and a quarterback. Okay. So 21 personnel, essentially 2 running backs. All right. And then I'm going to share a different one with you guys. All right. So this is an article talking about Josh McDaniels and, essentially how the 21 personnel has been a staple for Josh McDaniels in the Patriot system. Talks about it right here, 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and how the Patriots offense has trended the opposite direction versus the NFL. Since 2017, McDaniels offense has run 21 personnel 25% of the time, which is second in the NFL in that span. If he deploys it many ways, having James White, Deion Lewis is second in the NFL in that span. He on the field simultaneously since Brady left, it has become a fullback heavy system. But I expect to see, this was back when Kenyon Drake was here, and Josh Jacobs on the field more together. So, all right. So the main point is that I just want to touch on that is like Josh McDaniels runs a 21 personnel system, guys. Okay. Going back to when I said, don't clip Hunter Renfrow's wings. So Josh McDaniels runs a 21 personnel system 25% of the time. So obviously, if you're a coach, Super Bowl winning coach, right? Multiple Super Bowls, and that's your system, which helps out Josh Jacobs. I mean, I like it. I like having a fullback, right? He's helped Josh Jacobs, ball out and stuff. But if you know that that's your system, and that a guy like Hunter Renfrow may not fit your system that well, because he's not the fastest guy or whatever, then why would they ever give Hunter Renfrow a contract? You know what I mean? If they're just going to get rid of him, it make like some of this guys, like, I'm sorry, but it makes no sense. So there's red flags on both ends. There's some red flags from Hunter Renfrow. There's some red flags on the coaching staff and their true intentions. And so I'm just trying to break it down, look at it from a bunch of different angles, and look at it from a standpoint of if Hunter Renfrow is going to be on the chopping block next, right? Will Hunter Renfrow be on the chopping block next? All right. So, if we look at it and we're like, okay, well, what does all this mean? Why is it important? Because I'm going back and I'm looking at some previous, audio and stuff like that. I think it's important because if I try to look at it fairly, I probably would get rid of Hunter Renfrow if it means we can keep Josh Jacobs, you know, but it depends on what the Raiders would get for Hunter Renfrow. You know what I mean? We're going to take a cap hit. We're going to take a pretty good sized cap hit to dump Hunter Renfrow or trade him. So then it's like, well, what would be a good value? A guy we got in the 5th round. If we traded Hunter Renfrow, what should we get? Should it be a 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick? He was hurt last year, so he didn't get a showcase as good as he probably really is, obviously. To me, it's like, shoot, I mean, it's almost like he'd have to, have a 3rd round draft pick, minimum 3rd round. Anything less than that, I think is a miss. 4th, 5th round. Sometimes you can get guys, but I mean, if we're going to get rid of this guy for a 4th, 5th, 6th round draft pick, and we're going to take a big cap hit, and it was this coaching staff that got rid of him, I have a lot of questions on that. That to me is a very poor move. Like if we grade this as a success, like extending Renfrow, or a failure, and we take a big cap hit and we don't get a good enough draft pick for it, I think that's a failure. I absolutely think that's a failure. And that's on this coaching staff. So right here, let's look at pop-up ads. Let's look at something right here. Find Hunter Renfrow. There's like kind of conflicting how much the cap hit would be, but it could be like between Spotrac and over the cap. It could be like 13.1 million. That would be split up, I believe, through 2 years. But that's still a lot of a cap hit, guys. So this is Spotrac. We can go into over the cap, and they paid Hunter Renfrow a good chunk of change, guys. They paid Hunter Renfrow a good chunk of change. So here's Hunter Renfrow right here. So looks like about 5 million. I've seen other reports that it's 3.6. So it's kind of conflicting exactly how much the cap hit would be. Let's go post June 1st. Let's see what this changes. So that would be 470. So if we cut them post June 1st, that we could save a lot more if this is accurate. So like half a million, which, all right. So if it's $500,000, that's not too bad. But I want to go to 2024. Let's see if this changes anything. So essentially, it looks to me like it would roll a lot of that money over to the following year, which would be 11 million. So I don't like that. That's a Josh Jacobs contract. That amount plus a few million, you could pay that to Josh Jacobs. So if they trade Hunter Renfrow, even if it's post June 1st, we're going to take a good size cap hit right here, about 11.8 million. It looks like, if this is accurate. Okay. That would be in 2024. So that would hit us next year. But when you look at it like that, you're like, shoot, man, like, I don't know, like as I try to look at this from a fair standpoint, I don't like it. I think the coaching staff, unless all right, here's where I'm at. If we could sign Josh Jacobs, then maybe it's a good move. But I also believe that maybe this coaching staff should do a better job coaching and adjust their style to fit the best qualities of their players, especially because they fucked up and they gave Hunter Renfrow the contract to begin with. Because now we're in a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation, because they drafted a wide receiver in the 3rd round, which is way too high in my opinion, right? And if their plan is like they did that, drafting wide receiver that high to move on from Hunter Renfrow, and that was their goal and their intentions the entire time, well, I think I have a lot of issues with that. I really do, guys. I mean, to take this kind of cap hit, and this coaching staff made that decision, they fucked up. It looks to me like they fucked up or they didn't do their homework. And it's not like this is a one-off. I mean, I can take a one-off, like get rid of Derek Carr, whatever. It's not a full rebuild by us just getting rid of Derek Carr. I start looking, at them getting rid of Hunter Renfrow or Darren Waller, and I see a pattern starting, okay, as well as a lot of other guys they've gotten rid of. And if Hunter Renfrow's next, dude, there's a major issue here and a problem happening from this coaching staff that I do not agree with the direction they've gone. Because we got to keep in mind, guys, Devontae Adams is essentially on like a 2-year deal. If we pull it up right here of Devontae Adams, let me see if I can pull it up and I'll show you guys. Just give me a second. Because this is like my main, like all this is my main gripe about the coaching staff and why I have a lot of questions about them. All right. Right here is Devontae Adams' contract. Okay. So, and you guys look at it, look how the contract jumps from right here, like the 16.8 million to like 35 million. And if you count the bonus, it's more, it's like 44 million, I believe. Yeah. Right over here, 44 million. But essentially, it goes from like 20, so this next year, it's like 14.7. So they backloaded the contract for Devontae Adams, and then it's 25 mil. And then after that, it jumps up to 44 mil. So I don't know if this coaching staff is going to keep Devontae Adams and pay him 44 mil. You know what I mean? Like I could see them cutting Devontae Adams after the 2024 season. And so if that's true, we have a 2-year window with the best receiver in the NFL. And then if we trade Hunter Renfrow, and it's going to take time for some of these other guys to, that if they think that if they feel like this new guy they drafted is going to be a better fit for their scheme, then so be it. But like, he's not going to be like, a stud day one. It just doesn't happen, guys. Like rookies and stuff can take an easy, like 1 to 2 years to develop, if not 3 years before they're like really balling out and coming on the scene. And my other gripe with this like major decision getting that wide receiver, everybody says he's a Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. The real Tyreek Hill wide receiver wasn't even in this draft. It's next draft, and I found him. His name, look it up. It's Aeneas Smith. He's a wide receiver out of Texas A&M. He had a fracture in his leg, got hurt, decided to do another year because he hurt his leg. But Aeneas Smith, I think, is going to be a super stud. I think he's very, very similar to Tyreek Hill. Instead of people just claiming Tyreek Hill, this guy is like a real super stud. This is a kind of wide receiver that I'm looking at that I would say, yeah, you draft him in the second round. This guy is going to be a superstar. And that's the guy that I actually want, but nevertheless, we still could have got a wide receiver in the 4th, 5th round. And then instead of getting wide receiver so high, we could have either moved up to get a stud linebacker or got Noah Sewell or Henry To'oto. But, I want to mainly stay focused on, Hunter Renfrow and the contract situation. So shout out to Raider Dave. He said, I think Renfrow will be rumored to be on the trade until the trade deadline. Would not be wise to cut him on June 1st. Josh Jacobs will be fine paying on that tag this year. I hope you're right, dude. Because I, you know where I stand, I'm sure. But all right, Grimecast Media said, I want to see Jacobs play another contract year. That's how I look at least. Yeah, and a lot of people do. But from from a Josh Jacobs standpoint and the super stud that he is, like I'm looking at it from all sides. I'm trying my best to look at it from all sides of the coin, not just like a fan perspective or coaching perspective, but also the player perspective, because that's a piece of this puzzle too. When I look at, I did a video on the Josh Jacobs thing or whatever, but when I look at it, he should be a Raider. The dude's going to be the second all-time rushing leader for the Raiders. So I don't know if Raider critique or Raider Dave, if you guys wanted to hop in here for a minute, you guys don't have to, but I'm going to get off here in a few minutes. So if you guys want to pop up, you can pop up now. Everybody in the chat, what's your opinion? Okay. So my questions going into this, essentially I had like 2 to 3 questions, like did the current coaching staff make a mistake by giving Hunter Renfrow the contract? That was one of the questions. 2, when Raiders drafted Hunter Renfrow, we moved up. Did we get our worth out of Hunter Renfrow, and did we get our value out of Hunter Renfrow? I would say the previous coaching staff knocked that draft pick out of the park. They did amazing by drafting Hunter Renfrow in the 5th round. Another question, besides the coaching staff messing up is like, well, if we get rid of him, what kind of draft compensation is a valuable draft compensation and worth it? You know what I mean? When I look at it from a standpoint of like, you know, I feel we need at least a 3rd round draft pick, but if we're taking $11 million cap hit, I don't know. That's a big cap hit, man, to only get a 3rd round pick. And I don't know if he's done enough production to get anything better than a 3rd round. You know, I'd almost rather like be in a win now situation in this 2-year window with Devontae Adams. How would Hunter Renfrow help us in this 2-year window that we essentially have? You know, I think he's more valuable to us than trading him away. But at the same time, remembering, we got to sign Josh Jacobs. And if we need that capital to give Jacobs a contract, then, I would say, weakest man out kind of thing. It could be, Hunter Renfrow. And is he going to have more issues with these concussions? That's another thing. Is he going to get injured? He's got a concussion history. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, that I look at, and I just have a lot of questions. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Absolutely not. But if I look at it from all sides of the coin, there's definitely some red flags to a bunch of different scenarios. To the Raiders coaching staff, to Hunter Renfrow, maybe not putting in enough work. The Raiders got this new, Danny Amendola, who was a slot wide receiver for the Patriots. Raider Dave said Tyreek Hill's wide receiver 1. Yeah, absolutely. And Trey Tucker is a kick returner. Yeah, but you're going to draft a guy in the 3rd round for a kick returner? I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are a lot more positive than I am on this coaching staff, and that's fine. I just don't think you draft a special teams wide or kick returner in the 3rd round. I think that's a way reach. If it was 4th, 5th round, a completely different scenario, right? There are still some linebackers available, so we'll see. We'll see if this Trey Tucker guy, if he fills the role or the shoes of Hunter Renfrow. But again, my last point I just want to make, because I already know what people are going to say. They're like, well, Hunter Renfrow isn't a scheme fit. Trey Tucker's a better scheme fit. Trey Tucker's faster. You need a faster wide receiver for the play calling that Josh McDaniels does in the 21 personnel. Well, Hunter Renfrow hit the nail on the head when he said, if they run a 21 personnel and it's not a scheme fit, then certain guys may not be on our team, meaning like him. Like he already knew it before this coaching staff even started calling plays. You know what I mean? And if you're the coaching staff and you know that as well, that's not a good scheme fit. Well, then you made an extremely poor decision by giving Hunter Renfrow the contract, and that falls on them. It absolutely falls on them. They could have made a huge freaking mistake with this Hunter Renfrow, and that's not strike 1. That's strike 3. Derek Carr, they gave a contract, got rid of him. Darren Waller gave a contract, got rid of. Hunter Renfrow gave a contract, got rid of. And all these are guys, maybe not Derek Carr, because Derek Carr, I feel, should have taken a pay cut if he was going to stay on the Raiders. But that's neither here or there. But, at least Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, these are guys that can help us win in this 2-year window. Win now. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely be ready to help, like, win now to make a playoff push. And some people think it's a retool versus a rebuild. I'm not in that camp. I think we're in full rebuild mode, especially if they get rid of Hunter Renfrow, and depending on what they do with Josh Jacobs. Absolutely. This is why I've said since the offseason ended, like I wanted to stand back, kind of watch what these guys did. I've been fired up at times or whatever. But especially during the draft, because these decisions they make is going to change our organization for better or for worse. And the Patriot way has never worked after Tom Brady, meaning the Patriots haven't done shit since Tom Brady left, and no coaching staff has ever left the Patriots and shown that the Patriot way works. So we can all say the Raider way, doesn't work or hasn't worked and all that, and I get it. But at the same time, the Patriot way hasn't worked either, guys. I hope you guys realize that. The only reason why it worked is because you had Tom Brady, and when they cycled through players and they already had drafted other players and developed them, right, that they were winning so much that players are willing to take a contract for less money, and they knew they would probably get cut and cycled through the Patriot way, but they were okay with it as long as they won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? They knew they were on short leashes. But if you're not winning and stuff, this is like when Josh Jacobs said hero turned villain, and he's like, if it's one thing to take a pay cut and take a pay cut if you're winning, but if you're not winning, you better come correct. Meaning like if you're not winning, you better like bring the bag, kind of thing. So there's a lot of things to this, a lot of moving parts. And if you're a stud player and this coaching staff is just dumping the shit out of guys, right? After they gave them the contracts, who would want to go and play for that organization or that team? And that sucks because, I'm a hardcore, diehard Raider fan. I want players to want to come to our team like Devontae Adams, but he comes to our team and then they cycle through all these players. And how could, the Raider coaching staff not, like, how could Raider Nation not be upset at this coaching staff that they made some questionable decisions, And I'm trying to be fair. So, Raider Ben, dude, shout out to you, man. Hopefully you're doing good. No worries, dude. But I just wanted to hop in here for a minute. Those are kind of my thoughts on the Hunter Renfrow. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, when I look at it from a standpoint. If you guys, just came in here, appreciate it. Everybody hit the like button. Please subscribe, and, as I get out of here, I'll play all those sound bites again. I'm curious if you guys like listen in depth to this, interview Hunter Renfrow did a little over a year ago. Like, what are your thoughts? When you listen to this, was there red flags to this coaching staff? When you listen to it, should he have even gotten the contract? You know what I mean? I guess the one thing I didn't pull up that I did want to pull up was the had it somewhere. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. But I wanted to pull up the stats for Hunter Renfrow. So give me 1 second. We'll pull this up real quick. Because I do think that's important. If we look at it, from a standpoint of like stats and production, I do think that plays a pretty big factor on Hunter Renfrow and if this coaching staff did the right thing by giving him the contract, right? All right, pulling it up right now. All right, so when you look at the overall stats, 2019 605 yards, 2020 656, 2021, this is the stud year. The year went to the playoffs, 1,038, and then 2022 330. So obviously he was injured here. Total touchdowns, that year went to the playoffs. He had 9, but total touchdowns 17, total yards 2,629. So he had one amazing year right here in 2021, and then rookie year, and then second year. I wouldn't say it was great, but for a slot wide receiver, still kind of adjusting the NFL. I mean, I'd say average, kind of mediocre to average right here. But if you're the coaching staff and you got rookie year average to mediocre, and then just by numbers, right? And then breakout year, and then this right here. I mean, I'm not even sure if I looked at this, if I think that he would be worth that kind of contract without more production here for total yards, or more touchdowns and stuff. He did amazing in 2021. So I don't know, that's a factor too, is like, what is he bringing to the table to the Raiders? How many wins are we getting if we keep him? A bunch of things like that. So, Al's Ghost, salute to you, man. Hopefully you're doing good. Cash Lord, he said, get Renfrow out of here. He's one concussion away from Tua. And that could be a factor. I kind of said that earlier. So shout out to you, man. Raider Critique said coaching put on the other hand when it comes to Renfrow. Maybe they thought they had a Wes Welker in him and figured out halfway through the season they did not. Yeah, but that goes to my point. Like, there was red flags all over the place, man. And not just from that interview, but like there's tape that if he's not a scheme fit for what you're going to do, why would they give him the contract, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense unless their intention was to dump Hunter Renfrow the entire time or trade Hunter Renfrow. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll know by their actions. So all right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get out of here, guys, but hey, I appreciate everybody in the chat. I'll play these left. It'll be like 5.5 minutes getting out of here just so you guys can hear it in one rolling session. Have your own opinion, but I appreciate you guys. I'm Hardcore Raider. There's only one nation. That's Raider Nation. Hardcore Raider out. Appreciate you guys.
This is John Gruden with the Oakland Raiders. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, we just made a trade in the draft. We're going to make you a Raider. You fired up about that?
I'm fired up. Clemson. I like it.
Man, we got a great setup here. We've got a great group of guys coming in this rookie class, and we're on our way here. We just got so much confidence in you as a football player. I just want to let you know we made it. We traded up in the 5th round to get you. Congratulations.
I'm watching now. I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Renfrow, listen, I've been tracking you since before the national championship game a couple years ago when Alabama couldn't cover you. We've been tracking you really closely. We love watching the way you ran routes at the Senior Bowl. We love who you are as a person. We traded up to get you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. That really does mean a lot.
Seriously, here's the deal. We're drafting all these guys with high character that love ball, and you fit into that. Exactly. You fit so much the culture we're trying to develop. I just want you to come in and be you, all right?
I will. Yes, sir.
I'd always dreamed of, getting drafted to a team and playing the NFL. So when Coach Gruden called me and Mike Mayock called me, I was very, very thankful and very excited. I talked to my agent a little bit about if I'm not drafted and I'm a free agent, like where are the places that I want to go? Where are the places that me and Camilla would feel good about, going and signing a free agent contract and hoping to make the team? And so I remember going through a list of, where I wanted to go. And then I made a list of like where do I not want to go? And I remember me and Camilla came to consensus that the Raiders were the number one team we did not want to go to. Yeah. Up until college, I thought Oakland was in like Florida. I had no idea where Oakland was. My geography's awful, and it's so far away from home. When I found out it was California, taxes, and I was like, I don't want to be there, and then go all the way across the country for my family, and then we're going to Vegas in a year, and that's Sin City, that's the Strip, that's craziness, right. And so that's the number one place we did not want to go. But I couldn't be more thankful we ended up here because there's so many good people. It's been an amazing opportunity. I've loved the Raider organization, and really the teammates I've played with has been special. Yeah, I know my mindset's different. I know it's a little quirky, but it works for me. And what works for me may not work for you or someone else, but I'm very big on the mental side of things. I'm very big on, being mentally fresh, kind of outthinking people, outworking people mentally, and maybe sometimes I probably can do a better job physically and do a better job of getting my body right. But I don't ever want to sacrifice, going over the top in the summertime physically so that when you get here, in November, December, and the games are important, that you're mentally exhausted. And so I think the mindset of things and the mentality of things is you have to have the talent, obviously. So I don't want to say mentally is more important than the physical, but you have to have that mental side. And that's what separates the people at our level. There's tons of talented people, but their mentality is just what gets them over the top. And that's what I try to emulate. It's a lot of preparation, obviously, and that's why you're laughing a little bit because, I'm so against all the footwork drills and like stuff that doesn't translate to the game. I'll go out there in the off season and run routes 10 times in the off season. That's good enough for me because I'm thinking about what I want to run. I'm thinking about how I want to set up the defender, and I want to stay fresh for the season. I don't want to go out in the summer and run millions of routes. And then when the season gets here, I'm so tired of running routes. I don't want to, I'm not creative anymore. I don't even want to think about football. I want to play my best ball at the end of the year and be fresh mentally, fresh physically, and be creative. For me, it's all about breaking tendencies for a DB. Like for me personally, I try to get into the mind of the DB and I try to basically lie to the DB as a receiver. And so if I'm thinking as a DB, all right, if I'm running this route as Hunter, how am I going to set the DB up? And so if I'm guarding Darian, if Darian ran this, when would I jump it? So it's all about breaking tendencies and habits and trying to get in the DB's mind and as a receiver, lie to him, I guess. We played in London my rookie year, the 5th game of the year. I had won the starting job, but I really wasn't playing well. I think I had 6 or 7 targets. We were playing the Chicago Bears, 6 or 7 targets in one catch. At Clemson, if you threw to me, I wanted to catch the ball. I remember going back home that bye week thinking all right, this ain't working. I'm going to have to do it, my way. I know Coach Gruden wants me to run it like this. I know, they want me to run it like this, but, I'm going to be out of the league in about 5 games if I keep doing it like that. I'm terrible. And so I thought, let me just, I didn't want to look back and regret and say, oh, I was trying to please them so much and do it this certain way. And obviously, there were parameters and I didn't want to, go against what they're saying too much. But I remember going home that bye week and taking some time off and just thinking, I'm not going to regret this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it my way to an extent. Obviously, there's a coaching balance. I'm going to respect what they say. I'm going to do about how they say it, but I'm going to just put some tweaks here and there. That was kind of my moment where I kind of woke up and started playing some good football. We started off 3-0, and then we lost the next 2 games, and then the Gruden thing happened. Rich Bisaccia came in, was the interim coach. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted to play so hard for him. We want everyone to be back next year. We want Rich to be back. We cared about our coaches. We cared about our teammates, because when a coaching change happens and a management change happens, a lot of these guys on 1-2 years deal, you don't know how the new coaches are going to like them. And so if I'm a slot receiver and they run 21 personnel a lot, it doesn't fit me. There's no place for you, or you fit a certain scheme or system.
Exactly.
So coaching definitely changes things.